Thank you very much for tuning into Skyy 93.5 FM from 1920 West Fijai. In the studio with me now is Honorable Jake Obetsebi-Lamptey, the Minister of Tourism and Modernization of the capital city. Sir, you're welcome to Skyy Power FM once again.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
And sir, I have to congratulate you for the new ministry that you have, Tourism and Modernization of the capital city. The last time you were here, you were Presidential Affairs and Information Minister.
That's correct.
Were you surprised by the fact that you are playing a different role suddenly, as it were?
No, I mean you are there to be a part of the president's team and to help the president move his agenda forward. And the president says, I want you to do it over there, so you go and do it to the best of your ability.
Okay, but just before I come back to the modernization stuff, you are in Takoradi again. You're here for something important that will be useful for you to tell us. What are you doing here? What did you come to do?
To find the magic key to the lock of prosperity. If you just look, say, just at the Western region. The Western region is, I think, probably bigger than the Gambia. The Gambia has some beaches. It has a river. With no real tourist sites or anything else on the river. The Western region is, has the beaches as beautiful as anything the Gambia has. It has historic landmarks, African and European history, the forts and castles. It has tremendous culture. It has tremendous ecotourism, the Ankasa Forest Reserve. It has the gold mines, which are a new tourist product that we want to develop. It has, the number of things that the Western region has, the blessings that this region alone has in terms of tourism. And yet the Gambia makes so much more money from tourism than the Western region does. Why? And this is what we're trying to do: is to find the magic key that will unlock all this wealth, that will give us the opportunity to start to use these things that God has given us, and man has also made, to yield real wealth for the people. One of the problems that we've identified is that we need to generate investment into the tourism industry. A key to investment is secure land, and we're talking to the chiefs initially along the coast, because that's where you first think of in terms of tourism. But as I said, the Western region has tourism inland as well, so it's not that we're not aware of it, but we're just starting from somewhere to see what we can do before we roll it out. So you do an initial project, and then when you've got it right, then you roll it out across the rest of the regions and the rest of the country. So work with the chiefs and the district assemblies, government and the private sector to see how we can get secure land that will yield wealth for the landowners, which are the chiefs and the people, and the investors, because if the investors don't make money, they won't invest. And if the chiefs and the people don't get a benefit and make money from their resources, they also will not free those resources. And government has a role to play in empowering the private sector and helping the landowners to get the best possible deal. So that's what we're doing. So
you met the chiefs at the national, regional House of Chiefs. Basically, what did you tell them?
Well, we went through, exactly what we plan, what our targets are for tourism, and for the next 4 years, what we intend to do, and what is the potential for that Ghana's tremendous potential for tourism, and then try to generate interest in tourism by those who don't have an interest already. Your chiefs are very enlightened, so almost to a man, they know about tourism, they know about the potential. So we didn't have a lot of work to do there, and then to talk about how we can get this partnership going, government, traditional authorities and landowners, and the private sector, and so to do something about that partnership. So this is what we came to do today, and I think we had a very good session.
Well, I'm sure that yeah, the targets you have for tourism definitely covers the whole country. I'll come to that in a moment. But as far as it covers Accra, I mean, your ministry comes into play, the modernization of the capital city aspect. Now, when the name came up and you were appointed, a lot of concerns were raised among some Ghanaians. They expressed surprise. Why should a ministry be responsible for the modernization of the city of Accra, and why not AMA? And since then, we've not gotten you like we have now to react to that, to say something about that.
The president has been very conscious of and also been very determined to generate an investment in this country. And he's been having a look at a number of the different areas that are bringing problems to, to this, getting this investment going. And one of the areas that he decided is that we need to create an impression as a country that we are on the move, that we are forward looking, that we are vibrant, a vibrant society, and really, a place to get involved with, so that local investors will get involved and then foreign investors will also get involved. When you want to create that impression, the first impressions count. The first impression made, say, on a possible or potential foreign investor is the capital city, because their first contact, almost universally, their first contact with the country is their contact with the capital city. So it's vital that that first impression that is created by the capital city is so positive, that they are interested in the rest of the country as well. Then they'll come back and have a look and say, how do I, make my money work for me here? And he's talked to a lot of people. One of the people who the president has a lot of respect for is Lee Kuan Yew, who was the Prime Minister of Singapore and who was responsible for the Singapore miracle, as it were. And there, in discussions with Lee Kuan Yew, now there's, he got the thing whereby that if you do not have central government interested and taking an active part in developing that capital city, then you won't get it up at the speed that you need to get it going to do what it is that you want it to do. That you can leave it to the AMA, the local government, but if you leave it to the local government, sometimes it lags behind what you would like it to do. So he would like to have central government taking an interest in developing it quickly and getting it so that at least that impression is made, and then we can move the whole development agenda forward.
The tourism ministry, therefore, is responsible for modernizing the capital city. Do you have the budget that is required to take up that responsibility, given that it was created in the middle of the year?
We have to, and this is what we've been doing. We've been doing our scope of work and coming out with exactly what our plans are. Budgets, especially under this government, you don't have money thrown at you and say, okay, go and spend the money. You have to show how you're going to spend that money, and then the money will be found for you. And in talking about the budget, the ministry is not going to be responsible for building the hotels or building the houses. We're going to be responsible for getting the private sector to build the offices, to build the houses, to build the hotels. So, within our scope of work covers the marshalling of existing resources already. There are lots of resources that are working on the capital city now that are perhaps not focused enough on the modernization aspect. So we will bring more focus on the modernization aspect and then get them the monies that they have, and then also help AMA to generate more money.
What exactly does the modernization mean? Has it got things to do with clearing rubbishes around Accra, getting old houses or houses that were built in unauthorized places out of the way and all that, which people would easily think is a work for the AMA?
It's work for the AMA. Then there are
so how do you come in as a modernization
so what
ministry?
we come to focus the AMA's mind on some of the things that must be done. What we've done within our scope of work is that we cannot be responsible for the whole of Accra. We will lose our focus. So we're limiting ourselves to an enclave, and we will work at modernizing that enclave as an example to the rest of the city and as a lead to the rest of the city, for the city to also be picking up. So we've done an enclave that is enclosed basically by Ring Road and the ceremonial routes, and we're working towards those areas. Now, you cannot have a modern city that is as dirty as Accra is at the moment. So we must work at least cleaning the enclave. You can't clean the enclave without cleaning parts of the rest of it. But by focusing on cleaning the enclave, by making sure that we bring about the mechanisms for keeping the enclave clean, those same mechanisms will then be applied across the rest of the city. But our focus is on the enclave, and by focusing on generating money from within the enclave to pay for the cleaning, the same mechanisms that we use to generate money for the enclave will also then be applied for the rest of the city. So we bring added weight in a particular area, and then as you move that area, then the rest of it can also be moved.
In the discussions following the creation of the new ministry, as we can call it, some people gave examples from other parts of the world that, well, if it's Accra, you want to modernize, then why don't you make the mayorship of Accra a cabinet position, give that position more power, more resources, so that it can function properly, rather than, just giving a shadow of its power to an otherwise tourism ministry alone.
I think because I don't know, maybe this is me trying to interpret the president now. Okay, that the problems of the totality of Accra are so big. I mean, Accra now is over 3 million people. It grows by 140,000 people per year. That's a whole population of Cape Coast moving to Accra every year. I think the stronger the management structure that is put in, the more able we are to be able to tackle this. And this is what the president felt was the management structure that he would want to have.
And this is better than perhaps what people are suggesting, that Accra should the mayor of Accra or mayorship of Accra should be a cabinet position, and therefore stronger and can execute the visions of the president.
But obviously the president feels that this is so, yes. And he is the leader of the government, so let's give his vision a try.
How long would it take to modernize Accra?
My goodness. Well, I mean, the whole of Accra, it's going to take it's going to take forever. I mean, and then when you've got the bit that is already in place now, modernized, you should have a plan in place that will insist that whatever is now being added is added within a modern plan. So one of the things that we have to do is to coordinate a plan for the development of Accra, over the whole of Accra, mega Accra, over the next 50 years. But modernization is an ongoing event. If you go to London or Paris, you find that they're still tearing down some suburbs and rebuilding them. That whole areas of a city are being knocked down. Places which are only 30 years old are being knocked down, and new types of buildings are being put up. So first you must get to your plateau, get your base right, and then it's an ongoing process.
Accra Metropolitan Authority is going to be there forever, but will tourism and modernization of the city of Accra remain forever? Because we know of cases where ministries' names are changed and their functions as well.
I never try to predict the future. The president has a task in mind. I mean, what he does is that he gives you the task, he monitors what you're doing with it, he evaluates, and then he makes his decisions. I mean, if he makes a decision next year or year after, whatever, that this is what should happen, then to be able to accelerate what he wants to do, then that's a decision that he will make. But what I know is that now he's put me there, then my job is to do my best, the best I possibly can, to try to meet the vision that he has.
Is your position a cabinet position?
Yes.
Right. Now let's come back to tourism itself as a whole. What are the targets for the whole country? Because people believe that we should be earning an awful lot of money from this ministry, should become the #1 foreign exchange earner for the country.
Well, the president has declared that for the future there are going to be 3 new economic pillars for the country. One is the agricultural production. that is actually processing our agricultural product. 2 is ICT, and 3 is tourism. That we will use the current pillars that we have, cocoa and gold, timber, etc., to to keep us going for now, and to invest in creating the new pillars. Definitely, I would imagine that in 10 years' time, possibly, that tourism should have overtaken both gold and cocoa as a foreign exchange earner. Whether they will have done as well with ICT, because ICT is also capable of generating a lot of income, as is agricultural production. So with those 3 should have overtaken the ones that we have now. And the other big one that we have now is there's also the repatriation of monies from Ghanaians overseas. I mean, in the last 2 years, there's been a tremendous boost in the amount of money that Ghanaians are sending back and investing in properties and things in this country.
Let's talk about the beaches in Ghana, which you believe can attract a lot of money for the country. When a lot of them are misused. When you take Takoradi, for example, you just have to drive there and roll down your glass and you smell an awful something. I mean, how would you go about, changing that?
It's got to be carrot and stick. First, you've got to put in place. At the moment, a lot of the people who use the beaches to defecate do it because they've been used to doing it, and it's free. So somehow you've got to put in the public lavatories for them to use, whether they're free or you make a small charge for a better facility. And then you also have to have your bylaws, because the thing about defecating on the beaches is not just it's unsightly and smelly, but it's also a major health hazard. It's going to continue to spread disease. It's going to keep on making sure that your infant mortality rate remains as high as it is now. It's going to make sure that people don't go to work, and you lose productivity because they come sick because of diseases they've picked up from the flies that congregate over all this defecation. When you put those laws in and you've got the lavatories in place, then you're going to have to educate people to say, get off the beaches and go and use the lavatories. And then you've also then got to get the stick in there to say that, if you don't do it, then we will deal with you and you will be dealt with, and the laws will deal with you, and then enforce those laws. I mean, we're not the first people to have defecated on beaches. The Britons did it in Britain. Okay, they don't do it anymore. Whoever did it, elsewhere, who don't do it anymore. There are lots of things that we don't do anymore that we used to do, and this is one of them. Surely it has to be that the time is coming when we don't do it anymore.
And it's believed it's attitudinal. I mean, how will you go about changing that? Because even in the last many years, people occupying positions like you have expressed such hopes of working to get it off, but it's not worked. How can we be sure that it will work this time?
Well, what we know is that it will work one day. Okay, my job is to make that day come closer. Rather than, if you say in the nature of things, in 50 years' time there will be no more people defecating on the beach. Now we can't wait 50 years. Okay, if what I'm doing now and what others are doing, because the chiefs are also crying. The chiefs are saying to us even today, saying, let us have the bylaws that can be enforced, that we the chiefs can help to enforce. So all these things are coming out. If by the discussions that we're holding now, and then we are able to move this forward, then instead of 50 years from now, it's entirely possible that 3 years from now, defecation on the beach will be a thing of the past.
So 3 years from now, is that how close or how far it is?
Yeah, I don't know. Different beaches, different times. Some beaches will move faster because you will have a project there. Secondly, it's the beachfront there. It's a little bit like the beachfront that we have in parts of Accra that people drive through. You must take steps immediately. We can't wait. We shouldn't have to wait 3 years from now before we resolve what is happening in Secondary. We shouldn't have to wait 3 years from now before we resolve what is happening in places where people are putting in investments. Some place which is still hidden will take longer than 3 years, but anything can be done. if you put your mind to it and you organize and you plan well.
So how difficult is your job? Tourism, modernization of the city of Accra? How difficult?
Well, it's a wonderful challenge. It's a wonderful challenge. It's it's something where you can really feel that you can make a contribution. It's important for us in tourism to stop people thinking of tourism as being some sort of elitist, frivolous activity, and that tourism is just about some few foreigners coming here and whatever. Tourism is a major industry. If you look at America, with all the things that America has, tourism is still one of the top 5 industries in America. And America is one of the major tourist destinations in the world. If you look at Britain, France, all these developed countries, tourism is everywhere, one of the top 5 industries. And in some of the fast-moving and fast-developing countries like Thailand, tourism is one of the top 2 industries. And the same thing it can do for us. God has been very kind to Ghana. It has given us tremendous potential, and lots of different tourist products are available here. Including iconic products like the center of the world. We are the center of the world. A few years from now, or a few months from now, I would like to see cruise ships going from Takoradi Harbor to the center of the world, where the equator crosses the Greenwich Meridian, which is the true center of the world. And when you get there, then we'll do a marriage ceremony. So people from wherever who want to come and get married at the center of the world, you come down to Takoradi, you board the boat, you go down there and you got your wedding guests with you, and a champagne all the way. You come. Yes, it's a wonderful iconic thing that is unique only to Ghana, and these are things that we need to develop
and
now.
That can attract people.
Oh my goodness, attract people who spend a lot of money.
So, you remain a politician, and in a moment I'm going to ask you, the way your government is moving, but let's tackle this trotro matter first. All of a sudden, we heard you said there were not going to be trotros in the city of Accra after the elections. Tell us the truth. What happened? How do you say?
I would surmise that if this country develops in the way that all of us would like to see this country develop, in some period of time, I don't know whether it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or 30 years, there will be no trotros in Ghana. Because if you remember, a few years ago, we used to have wooden trotros. Now we don't have wooden trotros. Okay, in the same way that, the people who used to drive the wooden trotros have moved on to driving the metal things, which were deemed to be safer. At some stage, the people who are now driving the 15, 20, 25-year-old minibuses, which is what we can afford now, will be driving bigger buses, and they'll also be driving minibuses which are newer, because the economy would have moved on, people would have moved on. No driver wants to drive a 25-year-old minibus that is constantly breaking down. They want to drive something new, something modern. In the same way that today there are very few typewriters. And everybody said when the computer came, there'll be no more secretaries. But it's not true. You now have computers and you still have secretaries. Again, people are able to do things in a more modern way and do much more with a computer than they were doing with a typewriter. In the same way that when you have mini trams come in that carry 40, 50, 60 people, the people will say, my goodness, lovely. I can get onto this tram and I can have clean clothes from the beginning of my journey and come out clean at the end of it. These are things that are part of natural movement and natural modernization. Definitely, we want to have a mass transit system working not just in Accra but all over the country. We used to have it. We used to have big buses that operated. They're not there now because of what happened to the economy. If the economy picks up, as the government intends that it should pick up, then definitely some things are going to come back again. This mass transit thing is going to happen willy-nilly. At some stage in our development, it's going to happen because it is a much more efficient way of transporting people than the minibuses are. Which is not to say that minibuses will go out of business, because this is a long-term. This will be a long-term thing. There are places now that are not served by buses at all, mini or any other type. okay, which will be serviced by minibus. If a minibus finds I cannot be in competition with a tram along this route, they will go to another route. Or else if the driver finds that his minibus or his trotro is now so bad that he can't drive again, he'll apply to the mass transit company to drive a tram. So no, it was something which was said within a particular context, and then which some people try to take outside of that context to make a political thing of. It's as a politician, you should be careful of what you say.
Yes, and that brings us to the politician in you. I mean, you're one of the key people who spoke so well to convince Ghanaians why they needed to vote for your party. But the position you occupy now doesn't bring a lot of the politics in you, does it?
It brings delivery. I mean, I've always been about that. At the end of the day, we were promising people that we would better their lives. Okay, and I'm grateful to the president that he's given me this opportunity to work in a sector where you have to deliver. You have to deliver on bettering on the economic front. It's as I say, it's a challenge. It's an interesting job for me in that a major part of my training is in marketing, and a major part of tourism is marketing. So there's a synergy there. If we are able to do with tourism what we want to do with it, which is that in 2007 we can bring 1 million visitors to Ghana, we can earn $1.5 billion from tourism receipts, and we can have 300,000 people, which will be an additional almost 200,000 new jobs created in 4 to 5 years in the hospitality industry. If we can achieve those targets, well, then I'll be more than happy, and I'll feel very satisfied as a politician too.
Right. So, are you performing? I mean, your government, are you performing?
Oh, I think so. I think the people. There's a lot of people chatter. Then you have a by-election, and then they see what happens in the by-election. People chatter. The president goes on a thing of visiting projects in Accra, and he's mobbed everywhere. I mean, the spontaneity with which they came out. This was not organized. This is people who really wanted to see their president and show their support for what he's doing. Go to the. I drive through just even coming here, okay, along the road, and then the other day we were doing a tour of the Volta region, the new schools that you see, and the way that the schools are looking cleaner and painted, and you can see desks where there were no desks before. To me, I mean that's education, but it's vital to what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do in health, to try to get people to be able to have a proper health cover. That is vital. You're not going to solve all the problems of this country in 4 years or even in 10 years, but you can make a start, and you can make the right start. And I really do believe the president and his government have made the right start, and they're showing the right sort of leadership. You have all these attacks on the integrity and so on, but at the end of the day, when you probe them, it comes to nothing. But when it comes to delivery on the manifesto, because we also came in with a manifesto, and one of the things I say is, if you want to say whether the government is delivering or not, look at the manifesto. Look at what it was that we promised we would do. And I think in every area you will find that what we promised to do, we are doing. A number of things that people say, oh, you haven't done this. But we said, look at the manifesto. You will see. We said we would do this thing in 10 years, which means that after 2.5 years, and we've done this much, we are on course to doing that in the 10 years. We didn't say that we're coming to wave a magic wand and all the problems will be solved. It's not possible to solve, all the problems that you inherited. Because even though you have the ones you inherited, and new ones are being created every day. I really do believe the government is delivering.
So, by admission, what are some of the serious problems that are still facing you, that you're still facing as a government?
There are a number of problems that we're facing. One is getting the levels of investment up. It's taken some time, but again, even in that area, okay, I'm very pleased to note that the levels of investment now have risen substantially. By the end of this year, we'll have direct foreign investment up, I would think, to around about $400 million again. You've got, in terms of like the biggest areas, the best time that we ever had in direct foreign investment was when they first opened the mining sector up. And for a long time, mining has actually been going down. Now, what the government's actions and the government's policies have started to yield interest in mining again by the big mining companies. Newmont recently bought into mines in this country. Newmont is the second biggest gold mining company in the world, and they are pledged to invest, so I think $1 billion over the next 4 years. That's $250 million a year. This merger between...
But these don't constitute challenges that you're facing as a government, do they?
They do. I mean, I'm thinking investment. We need...
Right.
You see, one of the things that other investors look at, if they're coming to your places, to your country to invest, is what is the track record? How much investment is going in there? Now, from 1999, and then 1999, 2000, and then 2001, with the changeover was taking time, the direct foreign investment levels were very, very low. I think $20 million in 1 year. 2002, it's gone up. 2003 is rising dramatically. Now, if I'm an investor from outside and I look at this and I say, oh, this shows a level of confidence, I too can follow. And the numbers of people who are constantly coming in and looking at things and translating. I think GIPC just released some figures last week which show the number of new projects that have started in the first 6 months of this year. So we are overcoming that. In the other areas that we said about education, the amount of money that has been invested in education is also a plus. We said we would come in and we would do something about we would get rid of the cash and carry system. It's happening. But challenges there will always be. One of the biggest challenges is the politicization of this country, and how do you actually get detractors and things to speak the truth and to debate upon issues. That is something that we'll have to continue to work on.
Well, and as Tourism and Modernization Minister, I would like you to leave my listeners in Axim, in Takwa, in Cape Coast, Mankazim, secondly Takoradi with a word.
For me, I think the word would be that we have, as a country and as a people, a tremendous potential for the development of a tourist industry. The reason why tourists come here is because of the hospitality. The prime reason is because of the hospitality and friendliness of our people, and the smile that they get, the welcome that they get. It's over 60% of all tourists when we do the surveys tell us that's the prime reason why they came here. So our people are a definite magnet. Then we have the other things. We have our culture, which is a living culture. We have the historical sites. We have ecotourism. We have so many things that are going for us. We need to, all of us, work together and to realize the potential of this. It's a tremendous industry that can really create wealth and create a better lifestyle and a better standard of living for all of us. We must not destroy it. We must work hard to actually get it happening. We will destroy it by doing some very negative things. Hassling tourists. Some places now you get groups of young people, charging on a tourist to demand money, and the tourist then starts to feel threatened, and he feels that they have to give some money, and then sometimes you hear stories now they throw money in the air to be able to run away from these things. If you do that, the tourists will stop coming. Begging for money all the time. If we do that, we will stop people from coming, because hospitality does not go with a begging culture. We're not beggars. We're not a nation of beggars. So we should not encourage begging. And then protection of what we have, because if we destroy it now, when we say we want to use it and it's not there, we can never get it again. The beaches, as you said, we need to protect the beaches. We need to keep them clean. The fetish houses that we would like people to come and see. If we don't maintain them now, when we've been able to generate more people to come, there'll be nothing for them to see except, oh, you see that spot some years ago, that's where there was a fetish house. That is not, but if you have the thing there and you preserved it and it's still alive, and it's, that is the sort of thing that, we need to really get involved in. We need to realize the potential of this country and the potential of our people. We are a tremendous people. We are very positive, very vibrant people. Our people go outside and they work hard and they make a lot of money and they make a good life. Some of them do it here, but too few do it here. And more of us need to actually get on board and say, we can do it, we can make it, let's do it, let's make it. And let's keep this, let's keep this thing really happening.
Well, this is still Skyy Power FM. My own name is Phillip Nyakpo, and my guest has been Honorable Obetsebi-Lamptey. And sir, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us again, and we'll be hoping to have you again sometime.
Thank you, Philip. I look forward to the next time.